All right, let's jump right into this. We're looking at a piece of history today that's literally hiding in plain sight, right there on the keyboard in front of you. Welcome to this explainer on the hidden roots of ancient Indian mathematics.
Think about it. You type them every single day, right? You do math with them, you read them, but where do our everyday numbers actually come from? It's kind of crazy, but the numerals we just take for granted have this epic origin story that spans thousands of years and crosses entire continents.
So, what we commonly call the Arabic numeral system was actually born in ancient India, centuries before it ever made its way to the Middle East or Europe. It's a base 10 positional system using 10 specific symbols, 0 through 9, and it absolutely changed the course of human history.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the birth of the decimal system, check out some geometry before Pythagoras, dive into Aryabhata's golden age, see how Brahmagupta mastered the void of zero, explore Madhava's infinite series, and wrap up with the global mathematical journey. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The birth of the decimal system. The first 9 digits.
Now, a brilliant base 10 system like this definitely wasn't built in a day. It evolved over thousands of years. It actually started way back in the Vedic period, around 1500 BC. Back then, they needed it for constructing these really complex geometric fire altars and for tracking massive, mind-bending cosmic lifetimes in Hindu cosmology. Fast forward to 458 CE, and a Jain text called the Lokavibhaga is using objectified numerals, officially representing 0 as the void. And by 595 CE, we see written decimal place value notation locked in on the Manakani copper plate in Gujarat.
But hey, the foundations go even deeper than that. A scholar named Pingala developed an early precursor to the binary number system. And get this, he did it while working on Sanskrit prosody. That's the study of poetic meters. He ended up forming the foundational concepts of 0 and 1. So Pingala's early binary concepts are literally the ancient foundation of our modern computing and the digital age. It's just wild to think that the math running the smartphone in your pocket basically started with ancient poetry.
Moving on to Section 2. Geometry before Pythagoras. The Sulba Sutras.
So these sutras were all about practical application. What you're seeing is how they geometrically represented squares on a right-angled triangle. They needed this to construct those precise fire altars we talked about, which required exact areas and highly specific shapes.
And historically speaking, this is where things get really fascinating. Looking impartially at the historical record, the exact geometric relationship we all know as the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, well, that was documented by Indian mathematicians like Bodhayana and Apastamba in the Sulba Sutras long before Pythagoras was even born. It just goes to show that these fundamental geometric truths were being discovered and applied independently in ancient India.
All right, Section 3. Aryabhata and the Golden Age. Math meets the cosmos.
This brings us to the year 476 CE, which kicks off a true mathematical golden age, led by a genuine, bona fide genius. Among the major Indian mathematicians of the era, Aryabhata stood out. He wasn't just sitting around doing abstract math, he was taking those concepts and applying them directly to planetary motion. He was an astronomer-mathematician who fundamentally changed how we understand both numbers and the night sky.
And honestly, his achievements are just staggering. He calculated pi to 4 decimal places, 3.1416. He developed super accurate trigonometric sine tables, which were an absolute must for his astronomical calculations. He also documented the sidereal rotation of the Earth on its axis, essentially figuring out that the Earth spins. Plus, he created algorithms for linear indeterminate equations. And he did all of this while refining the place value system. Talk about a breathtaking resume for a guy in the 5th century.
Let's hit Section 4. Brahmagupta masters the void, the invention of 0.
So Aryabhata refined the numbers, sure, but the most revolutionary concept was actually still to come, formalizing nothingness. In a treatise from 628 CE, a mathematician named Brahmagupta cleanly broke down high-level algebra by officially defining the mathematical rules of 0. He established that a plus 0 is a minus 0 is a, and a multiplied by 0 is 0. He took 0, or shunya, and elevated it from just a simple placeholder dot to a fully fledged algebraic number, and he even laid out the rules for negative numbers right alongside it for the very first time.
The crucial takeaway here is that this massive conceptual leap gave integers a ring structure. That might sound like heavy math jargon, but it basically established one of the most important pillars of modern algebra. Before Brahmagupta, 0 was literally just an empty spot on a counting board. But after him, it became a true mathematical entity that could be calculated, manipulated, and deeply understood.
Next up, Section 5, Madhava's Infinite Series, Precursors to Calculus.
Now we're going to leap centuries ahead to the Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics, and this is where things get astonishingly complex. Born around 1340, Madhava of Sangamagrama founded this incredible school. He actually discovered infinite series for sine, cosine, and arctangent, and he calculated pi accurately to an unbelievable 17 decimal places. Madhava was out there developing power series expansions and estimating error terms. He was exploring the deep, complex concepts of calculus hundreds of years before the European Enlightenment and famous figures like Newton and Leibniz.
This was a monumental shift in human thought. As the historical record shows, it was the decisive step onward from the finite procedures of ancient mathematics, moving to treat their limit passage to infinity. In plain English, they laid the absolute groundwork for mathematical analysis. Finally, Section 6, the global mathematical journey, sharing the knowledge.
So you might be wondering, how did all this profound knowledge locked inside the Indian subcontinent actually reach the rest of the globe? Well, it spread through this beautiful, intricate network of global translation. In the 8th century, these Sanskrit texts arrived at Caliph Al-Mansur's court in Baghdad. There, Al-Fazari translated Brahmagupta's works into Arabic. Then, by the 9th century, the great Persian mathematician Al-Khwarizmi wrote extensively on these Hindu-Arabic numerals. Fast forward to the 13th century, and these Arabic translations finally reached Latin Europe, popularized by mathematicians like Fibonacci. These mathematical secrets literally traveled the dusty trade routes of the ancient world.
And you know, the linguistic journey of this knowledge is just as fascinating as the math itself. Aryabhata used the Sanskrit word ja-ardha for a half-chord in geometry. When that got translated to Arabic, it was transliterated as jiba. But later on, Latin translators completely mistook this for a different Arabic word, jibe, which means bay or fold, and they translated it into the Latin word sinus. So even the word sine that you use in geometry class today, it's just a linguistic shadow of its original ancient Sanskrit root. How crazy is that?
What you should really take away from this explainer is that these ancient thinkers didn't just invent abstract math for the fun of it. They literally laid the groundwork for our modern reality. Their decimals give structure to global commerce. Their early binary concepts form the basis of all computer code. Their concept of 0 makes modern physics and algebra possible. And their trigonometry? It enables everything from navigating the globe to exploring deep space.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Without the brilliant minds of ancient India giving us the number 0, the decimal system, and the mathematical infinite, would the digital screens we are looking at right now even be possible? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the everyday things around you, because you never know what ancient genius is hiding just beneath the surface.